DS was not born out of nothing. It was born out of the Lilliput network in Varese. And it is my understanding that it happened like that in other areas as well. We are talking about over 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Really, there was a ferment in Varese. There was the Lilliput network, but also the social forums. We studied, we learned, we understood what the G8 is, what the International Monetary Fund is, what the World Bank is. So from a theoretical point of view, we were very well prepared because we had a slogan, which is the Lilliput network, another world is possible. Then what happened? Genoa came. The events of Genoa basically gave a beating to everybody and also to us. Let's say it decimated also the desire to change the world. In short, then we got together and we said, here, there is too much theory. We have to start concretizing. And at this point, let's say, from the motto, another world is possible, we thought of the motto, another world is under construction. We said, now we have to start building. We have understood what is wrong. However, we have to start being concrete. And so the Varese Solidarity Economy District was born. And in parallel, the gas network was also born, which is one of the tables of the Solidarity Economy District.
Let's say that in those years there, interestingly enough, there were two nodes of the Lilliput network, one in Varese and one in Venegono, which is a small municipality, but it was linked to the Combonians. And from there, at least in my case, just from the node of the network, the Solidarity Purchasing Group in the 2001 started, and then the one in Varese was born. There was the one in Legnano, and hearing each other, we made this proposal to think about the district, which, however, had also been an indication of the National Lilliput Network to try precisely not only to raise awareness and training, but also to measure ourselves a little bit with forms of economic ethics. And at the first meeting, which was, if I remember correctly, January of 2005, we had a huge participation. We started a little bit. So on the Arimbaggio, initially I had a working group on the development of the Charter of Principles, another working group on mapping, which was important and still is. That is to know what were the realities that we're doing in different capacities, the solidarity economy in our territory. And the third group was on the fair. Until in 2007, we didn't really form an association. And in 2008, we did the first edition of the fair. And we did a series of annual editions of the fair until 2015. Then from the first association, which was a simple PS, we made a change of statutes and became second-level associations. So the extraordinary members are not individuals, but they are associations, companies, cooperatives.
Varese, let's say the main point is really to build the network, to create all the connections as much as possible. That's if you want the ultimate goal.
Yes, so we have the ordinary members who are, let's say, the associations that make up, as it were, the social body of DES. And then there are the volunteer members who are instead the ones who make the association work.
I would also add this, that the idea of becoming an association stems precisely from the fact that there was a need to talk to entities and other institutional bodies.
That is, the purpose of DES is to network and to popularize the solidarity economy. That is, to network among the actors, the people who concretely do the solidarity economy, the producers, the associations, etc., and then to popularize towards the citizenry, that is, those who instead are, as it were, the users of the products of the solidarity economy, and thus to put them in relation, in contact with these two realities.
So let's say that the activities that you carry out, as you were saying, are basically outreach activities on these two strands, which are that of the wider community of people and that of your associates. So getting them to know you as well and eventually widen your network.
Here's also to add this, though, that within us we also have working tables. So there's the PPDO table that brings forward the small organized distribution. Then there's the gas network table that has the main purpose of networking the buying groups. Then there's the stores table, which also has the purpose of networking the stores. Then there are other tables that have worked a little bit like the energy table. Now we are currently trying together with the Des di Como, which is there to bring forward an inter-Des table on energy. Then there was also for a moment the co-housing table, or even the table related to clothes.
In fact, each table has, in the end, a person in charge who is the one who is in charge of coordinating the activity, let's say 1 or 2 people who coordinate the activity of the table. They set the agenda. When we meet in the group, they are the facilitators here of the functioning. The table, however, has a very free participation. That is, if compared to a board that is elected by the assembly, for example, the gas network table, all DES member gases and even non-members can participate because maybe they will become members. So there is a very free participation of volunteers representing their gas who then work at the table. Currently, let's say the main activities are, I would say, the animation of the gas network table is still a very important thing, because then from that, a whole series of projects are animated in the sense that the gas network table is not a purchasing powerhouse. The gas network table is to put around a table in collaboration and comparison the gases in the area, and together to be able to join and to be able to support producers and projects of various producers who are part of it. Participation in this joint project with other entities, which is valuable connection, which was the Fondazione Cariplo funded project. And then the implementation of the fair this year is definitely the other key moment. I would say the communication and publicizing part of the PPDO project. We kind of use the term project governance, meaning that the administrative and logistical part is managed by a social cooperative, while the aims of the project, the selection of producers, whether they have, let's say, the qualities to be able to enter the circuit or not, is instead entrusted to DS. So the PPDO table is another table that is concretely working to find more producers, get the e-commerce site up and running, publicize it, increase the project, becomes economically sustainable for itself. It is no longer an act of, can I use the term, charity? Here it's not charity, it's a project that sustains itself with its own legs, so much so that they have hired an extra person to be able to run it in the social cooperative. So already just to have achieved the goal of providing employment for an extra person, for us it's a goal achieved. So the PPDO, the fair, the gas network table, and then let's say the other things that we do are all those little activities of relationship with the other entities that are in the province. The Equos cooperative comes to mind. I don't know if you know it, which is in fact a cooperative that collects 50 gases, and these gases in the cooperative in this way manage to distribute fresh every week, and we are talking about 50 quintals of fresh every week. So it's not really a pittance.
And that is, the ideas and projects brought forward are really at least dozens a year. We did in Afghana to help an Afghana association, and also of SISDA, which is the Afghana Women's Association. Then we did a collection for Ukraine, 2 collections for Ukraine. So we also do these interventions here. Then, for example, for the Syrian people, there was the Aleppo soap order. Then there was the Buonatera project also there with the talks about tomato harvesting, etc. Buonatera. And then, by the way, another interesting thing, in my opinion, is the cultural talk, in the sense that it is very important, let's say, to raise the bar of culture, and so much so that we have proposed already for 2 years now a nice thing that we have called Christmas in a Book, where we do a collective order of books chosen by us, but attention taken not online, but through a small independent bookstore in Varese, just to help bookstores that are in difficulty, because it is easy. One goes with Amazon or Feltrinelli and solves it. The difficulty was to make this order that went very well and to help a bookstore.
3 concrete effects, if I may say. Then one, the gas network table working. It has carried out so many projects that have involved so many people. And so this has also allowed the gases to continue to exist, because gases have, like all groups, they have dynamics, they have ups and downs. So if one just buys a little bit, one gets exhausted, instead urged to participate one step more. This has allowed the gases, however, to continue to live, to function, and to keep a little bit up the queue. However, an impact on the gases there has been, and so by reflection on the families that are part of it. This is, in my opinion, a first result. A second result is that, however, the small and political organized distribution project has had, so much has helped the social cooperative to also find another area of work. so to differentiate its activities, and therefore, because when a reality is monothematic, if that market collapses, it is over. Instead, by differentiating ourselves, we have given an extra chance. The fact that we have created an e-commerce that has networked local producers, now they are in the Trentina, that is also a small impact. We have also been a flywheel for some producers, that some producers started with us to sell products on the platform, and after that they created their own clientele, their own strength, and go with their own legs. But that's really the purpose of PPDO as well, which is to be a flywheel for young farmers to find a ready-made market and then afterwards to go with their own legs. That to me is another positive impact. It's only been 4 years. It seems like it was 100 years ago. But during the COVID period, the gas network and the PPDO created its own network and made it possible to continue to collect products from these producers and deliver them to homes or otherwise to neighborhood groups throughout the province when people were going to stand in lines at the supermarket in a way that they didn't understand what they were going to do. We held up and did this service as well. This was also fortunately limited to that period, but it was a service that existed and was adapted to the circumstances and served, in the true sense of the word, I would say hundreds of families, maybe a few thousand. We are trying, because the gases were born 30 years ago, they are still efficient, effective, and so on. However, on generational change, they struggle a little bit. So, as a solidarity economy district, which is more 360 degrees, the responsibility to dialogue with our children's generation is crucial. This is also a competence, and in my opinion, to dialogue, one of the important things is to entrust them with responsibility. And in my opinion, this is one of the things that maybe we still have to learn a little bit more. But if I were to say to Anas and Des, I would tell them here, be careful about this.